Hi, I'm Marijke.
And I'm Jennifer.
And this is Cats Chats.
The question is, what is something that's involved in being an SLT that most people probably wouldn't realise?
Ooh, prep.
Yep.
The amount of preparation we do for therapy sessions. I know physios and GPs, they can go to the appointment and they can do their thing and they write their notes and they're done.
Boom to boom to boom. Finished.
Yeah, where, especially in private practice, we have such a variety of different clients, different ages, different difficulties, different stages they're at. You could spend 3 hours preparing for one client, and then it could be maybe 10 minutes for another. But for that same client, maybe you need to change tack, or something's happened and you know they have achieved their goals and you now need to change it. The amount of preparation that happens, I don't think people know how many hours we spend.
Absolutely.
Way before.
The preparation time, and I suppose the administrative aspect of being a speech and language therapist is huge. So even if a client is coming to us, say, for 45 minutes, it's not that they come in for the 45 minutes and then off they go and we forget about them. We have this chunk of time ahead before the session, and it could be a couple of days before, it could be just on the day, where we are planning the session. We're taking that time to prepare the materials. We might need to make new materials, and then you've got the session and you've got the follow through at the end. So if you've said, I will send this to you, or I will call this person, you have to make sure that you follow through and make those phone calls, which could be a half an hour phone call, could be an hour. You've also got your notes to write, which are not just tick the box notes. I mean, we do spend a good amount of time on writing notes, and
we have to ethically do that, but it's also helpful to know what you've done last time, what materials you used, you can remember, because I know for every client they're special, but we might have 25 or 30 that week, and we have to try and remember where everybody's at, what we're going to do next, and have it ready when the session starts. And I even sometimes find I'm reflecting on my prep still the whole time, until sometimes 15 minutes before a session I go, I think I want to change that. My gut saying do this instead, and then I quickly have to research something that I think might work better, and then within the session sometimes something happens that you didn't expect, or a child is not cooperating and you need to pull out tricks,
readjust as quickly as possible.
Then you're changing midstream, so it's a lot of mental energy. And then afterwards you have to be very precise, so that if anybody reads that note, they know what's happened in the session and what progress you've got, what data have you got. So taking data during the session too. And then there's, I don't know if you find this sometimes. Sometimes I find that in the middle of the night I wake up and I go, I think I should try that strategy with this child. It's been in the back of my mind for ages. I think I should do this. Oh,
definitely. Your brain, especially if things are a bit more tricky, or if a kiddo is moving on and making progress, and you're trying to think about what's the next logical step, or where should we go from here? What's the best way to go? And all of a sudden you're in the Lidl and you're like, oh, hold on a second, I need to write something down in my phone to make sure I remember that this is where I want to go with this client.
Or you come across materials while you're researching something else and you go, oh, this will be so good for so and so and so and so. Or you do a course and you're like, that's a strategy I haven't tried yet. Maybe this one and this one would be great to try it with, because I think it rings a bell now. So I don't think people realize how much thinking time we have about clients even afterwards.
It's not just this little 45-minute window. There's hours involved every week for a client that you're seeing. You know, there's a lot more involved.
Yeah.
That behind the scenes that people just don't see.
And in private practice, you know, we still need to do our taxes. We still need to do all the bits and pieces on CPD training we need to do to keep our training up ourselves. And then we have all the bits and pieces that we need to do in every day of being a speech and language therapist. You know, very often we're volunteering in committees relating to speech and language therapy too, because that's a passion. So if you have a passion for something, you're going to try and do more, isn't it? So yeah, when somebody says, "Oh, can you see my child in half an hour in the first session?" I get heart palpitations because I'm like, of course I can't, because I first need to know what it is, and then I need to get the right thing, so I'm doing the right thing for you, and I'm not just rocking up.
Exactly.
Clocking it in and not giving quality.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we can't just necessarily on the day book somebody in half an hour's time, because we need that prep time. And if we don't have that prep time, we're not going to do a good session, and then that's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. It's not ethical. So that's especially when somebody's saying, "Can we reschedule?" You know, if I've done the prep work, absolutely, no problem. That's fine. But if you're saying for a client on Friday, "Can I come in today instead?" Maybe not, because I mightn't be ready for you, especially if you're brand new. I need time to...
And then we also spend time in supervision, right? We are supervising others, and we're also engaging in peer supervision ourselves so that we can keep our practice really well. And then when we've done that, you take a step back and you go, okay, now I still need to write a report.
Yeah.
Okay, so an assessment report, why can be 6 hours for some.
Yeah.
If it's a really comprehensive report, so you have to squeeze that within the time too.
Yeah.
So because you want to write a good piece of work, because the years later that report will still be out there.
You want to be able to stand by that report years later. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the ethical thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a hard job, but we love it.
Somebody's got to do it.
If you have any questions,
give us a call.
Send in your questions and we'll try our best to answer them.